Hi everybody, Mrs. Knutson here. I need to do some teaching with you today, which I am missing desperately. I love teaching Romeo and Juliet. Anyway, today you're going to be reading the rest of Act 1, Scene 1, Act 1, Scene 2, and Act 1, Scene 3. And there's going to be a PDF assignment that is going to walk you through, it's called The Love Connection, and it's going to walk you through all of the characters and their ideas about love, because these three little scenes in Act 1 really set the stage for the conflict, set the stage for the love story, and all of those things. So they're really important little scenes. So, first of all, I'm on the Romeo and Juliet cast page, and I just want to reiterate and review some people. We have the Montagues, which are Romeo's side of the family, Lord and Lady Montague. We'll talk about them in a minute. Obviously, we have Romeo. You'll meet him today. Then we have Benvolio, and you met Benvolio yesterday in the fight. Benvolio is Romeo's first cousin, but also his best friend. They're about the same age. Benvolio is very peaceful, very kind, very trustworthy. So oftentimes in the middle of the play, if something's gone wrong and they need an explanation for what happened, someone in authority will ask Benvolio, tell me what happened. And Benvolio's little chunk of lines in that place is literally a summary of what just happened. Okay. Then we have Balthazar and Abraham. They are just simply servants. Then we've got the Capulets. We have Lord and Lady Capulet. You're also going to meet both of them today. We have Juliet, and you're going to meet her today. You haven't met her yet. Then Tybalt. Part of this fight between Benvolio and Tybalt. These two characters are what we call character foils. They're opposite of each other. Whereas Benvolio is really peaceful, Tybalt is fiery, vocab word pugnacious, kind of like Curly from Of Mice and Men, likes to pick a fight, likes to be in the middle of the action. So he is actually Juliet's first cousin. And then you're going to meet the nurse today. And the nurse is not like a nurse. Juliet's not ill or anything. The nurse is simply like her nanny. She's the one who's raised Juliet from infancy. Okay? So those are the biggies. Those are the people that you need. We've gone through the prologue. You've gone through Act 1, Scene 1, part of it at least. And, you think of this big fight like kind of like a fight in school, in the lunchroom. Somebody taunts somebody, bite your thumb at you, flip them off, whatever it is that they do. And then it gets to the point where the person being taunted can't stand it anymore, and it ends up in fight. So the line in there that I really want to talk about is Benvolio. He comes into the fight, says, "Part, fools, you know not what, put up your swords, you know not what you do." This is establishing Benvolio as the real peaceful character. But he turns around and Tybalt is there. Tybalt comes and says, "What? Drawn? Among these heartless, you've got your sword drawn." He says, "What? Drawn and talk of peace? You're saying put your swords down and you've got yours drawn. What? You're drawn and talk of peace? I hate the word as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward." And then the whole big brawl happens. So, you've got the big fight. Obviously, everybody in the lunchroom would start screaming, "Fight, fight, fight." Everybody would grab their phones and start filming it. And eventually, hopefully soon, somebody in authority like admin would come and break up the fight. And that's exactly where you got to yesterday. Prince Aeschylus comes in and basically yells at them and tells them to knock it off. Okay? That's where we are. So, past that point, everybody exits the stage except for Lord Montague, who is Romeo's dad, Lady Montague, and Benvolio. Now, Lord and Lady Montague are going to be playing worried parents, okay? And so Montague says, "Who set this ancient quarrel new abroach? Speak, nephew. Were you by when it began? Were you there, Benvolio?" And right here, in lines 99 through 108, Benvolio basically summarizes everything that happened. I tried to break it up, and Tybalt came in, wielding his sword, and went from there. Lady Montague, worried mom, says, "Oh, where was Romeo? Saw you him today? Right glad I am he was not at this fray. Have you seen him today? I'm so glad he wasn't involved in this fight." Benvolio says, "Madam, an hour before the worshipped sun perched forth in the golden window of the east, so early walking did I see, a troubled mind drave me to walk abroad." Um, Basically, he's saying like an hour before sunrise this morning, I couldn't sleep. I was troubled, so I was up, and underneath the grove of sycamore that westward rooteth from the city's side, so early walking did I see your son. I saw him out west by the sycamore grove. Towards him I made. I tried to go toward him and talk to him, but he was ware of me. He saw me, and stole into the covert of the wood. So I left him alone, basically. Basically just saying that I saw him this morning. I tried to go talk to him, but he didn't obviously want to talk to me, so I left him alone. Lord Montague kind of adds to that. He says, "Many a morning hath he been there seen, with tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew." If you think of dew in the morning on the grass, it's really wet, and Romeo's been seen out by the sycamore grove, adding to that, augmenting the fresh morning's dew. So he's been crying. Clearly he's upset about something. This is so teenage. I love it. I want you to see that the things that Romeo and Juliet are doing, the ways that Lady and Lord Montague are acting, the way that Benvolio responds, is all so contemporary. It's exactly what would happen. If my son were upset about something and I was worried about him, I probably would maybe try and ask him what's wrong, but I probably would just go to his best friend and say, "What's going on with Eric?" And his best friend would tell me. And Montague basically does that. He adds to this whole thing. He says, "I've seen Romeo's been adding tears to the fresh morning's dew, and then but as soon as the all-cheering sun should in the farthest east begin to draw the shady curtains from Aurora's bed, away from light steals home my heavy son, private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night." Think about that. If you were sad or upset about something and you just wanted to be alone, you go up to your room, you shut the door, you turn the lights off, and you flop down on your bed, and you just kind of wallow in it. And that's exactly what Romeo's doing. So he is absolutely no different from how teenagers act today. Basically, Montague asks Benvolio to see if he can figure out what's wrong. Benvolio says, "I got it. I will, if you guys go away, I'll talk to Romeo. Here he comes." Okay. So in walks Romeo, and you're gonna read all of this, and you're gonna find out that Romeo is upset. He's heartsick. He's lovesick. Basically, he's been friend zoned. He is in love with a girl. We find out later's name is Rosalind, and Rosalind does not love Romeo back. Okay, so he had a crush on her, and she broke his heart and friend zoned him. Anyway, so you're going to read all about that, and all about how Benvolio is trying to cheer Romeo up. Think about how you would talk to a friend who was upset. So you're going to do that. Then you're going to read Act 1, Scene 2. And you are going to find out, you're going to meet the Capulets. You're going to meet Lord Capulet, who's a dad, and he's worried about his daughter. And a gentleman who's kind of maybe early 20s comes in. Oh, by the way, I didn't say, Romeo's like 16, 17 years old. That's what scholars think. Anyway, Capulet is met with a man named Paris, and he's a young eligible bachelor in town, and Paris wants to marry Juliet. Arranged marriages were, that's how it was done, especially with the upper class. So you're going to find out, especially in here, what Lord Capulet has to say about marriage, what Lord Capulet has to say about Juliet getting married, and the advice he gives to Paris. Down here, he says, I'm having a big party tonight. Why don't you come? And you can see Juliet and you can meet her for the first time and see what she has to think about you. So Lord Capulet gives a stack of invitations to his servant, which is all well and good, except the servant can't read very well. And so he ends up going into town. He's supposed to deliver all these invitations, and he runs across Benvolio and Romeo, who are still talking. The servant comes up and says, hey, g'day, can you help me with these? And Romeo's like, sure, I can read. Romeo reads. They figure out this is for a party at the Capulets' house, and that Rosalind is going to be there. And anyway, so Benvolio says, you know what, we're going to go to this party, okay? And then you're going to read Act 1, Scene 3, and you're going to meet Lady Capulet and Juliet for the first time, and the nurse. Lady Capulet is very formal, very distant. The nurse, on the other hand, is hilarious. The nurse is going to go into this big, long monologue about Juliet as a child, and it's just, you might not understand all of what's being said, but she's talking about her as something that she did when she fell and broke her brow, and all of this thing. But it really just establishes that the nurse and Juliet are the ones that are close. And then Lady Capulet asks about Juliet getting married to Paris. And you'll find out what Juliet thinks about that. Anyway, so that's going to be your reading, like today and tomorrow. And then you're going to be doing this love connection sheet, and it's going to point you to certain lines, and you're going to really get a good idea of what the characters are thinking about love, okay? I hope you're enjoying Romeo and Juliet, and I will connect with you soon. Please Schoology message me if you've got any questions, and I'm happy to answer them. Have a great day, everybody.